Hello everybody. Okay, I wanted to start this video out a little bit special, clear the space, make an offering to Mary Magdalen, bless the space. And I want to give a little context, a little why behind this new series that I'm going to do called Messages from Mary Magdalen. Okay, the feeling I'm getting with this is very similar to the feeling that I got when I started my channel. And I started talking about sacred partnership and twin flames and conscious relating back in 2015 here. And for those of you who are day ones, I love you. Thank you for still being here. You already know. It was such a special time because it was not mainstream. Like, it was super underground. I felt like we were on the leading edge of something really unique and powerful. I definitely remember the first video being like, am I fucking crazy to post this? Because I went to Walmart, I got a whiteboard and dry erase markers. I was meditating daily. I was actually using the meditations from this book, the Magdalen manuscript, which I'll talk about in a second. And I just remember like that first time when I uploaded being like, is anyone gonna get this? And I was literally going on a leap of faith, blind faith. I'm like, I'm just trusting what I'm receiving. Like I said, there really wasn't information on the internet. By no means was I the first person to talk about this, but at that time, there wasn't a lot of information available. It felt very like secretive, you know what I mean? So obviously now, you know, a decade later, a lot of this has morphed and changed. And I mean, there even ended up being like a cult documentary of people that I'm sure you guys knew. I definitely knew these people back in the day on like Netflix. I almost fell off the couch when I saw that. Anyway, not to get into that, but you know, it is part of the journey, right? Like being there at the beginning and then seeing that happen years down the road, it's really wild because I was really close to that whole community and it's like, wow, this is nuts. But anyway, here we are, still standing, still sane, still grounded. And one of the catalysts for this journey for me, this is how I knew like what lineage of Magdalen teachings I was meant to delve deeper into, okay? Because there's a lot of schools of thought when it comes to Mary Magdalen. Now, I never resonated with the stories that were like heavy with the Christian terminology or the religious terminology. And for some people, that's very much like what lands for them. I've even heard like the blue order of the rose, which again doesn't resonate for me. I know other people who that's very much their thing. A lot of them live in the UK. They're like close to Glastonbury, and again, it's like a different vibration. And some of them also resonate with this, and some of them don't. So it was just interesting what I felt drawn to the most. But when I read this book, the Magdalen manuscript, which is about Egyptian alchemy, it's written by Tom Kenyon and his partner Judy Sion. Tom Kenyon was a scientist turned sound healer and channeler. And so this is the first book that I read where they were talking about Mary Magdalen in terms of sexual alchemy, the mystery school of Isis connected with Egypt. Okay, I read this book, full body chills, complete, total resonance, tears. I read the first 80 pages, I cried. I was like, it literally felt like reading your own story. You're like, I know this, I'm living this, I'm embodying some of these things. It just felt so like the most important book I've ever read, probably. And that's true to this day. And I've taught out of this book. I've used the meditations in this book. I've probably read this book at least 5 times from front to back. Every time I read it, it lands differently. You're more evolved. You know what I mean? You've experienced more things land. Anyway, so this for me is very much a guiding light. It's like my Bible. I'm like waving this. Does this resonate? If so, you're my people. So you're going to know if that's the lineage of Magdalen that's for you, because it may not be. Okay? And on the back of this book, it says, "The truth unveiled. For those who have eyes to see, let them see. For those who have ears to hear, let them listen. For those who have neither, let them pass on." That is mystery school energy, because a teaching could be hidden in plain sight, but if you aren't ready to receive it or it's not for you, it's not going to mean anything. Because there are sacred symbols everywhere. And you either get it or you don't. And it's fine either way, you know what I mean? It's not for everybody. So I've been creating membership, which I'm going to announce the name of it, and the applications are opening on Monday. After I post this reading. So, and if you're coming to this later, then the membership's probably already open, so you can apply. But anyway, it's a more private space on purpose, intentionally, because, I don't know, you reach a certain point in your journey where you do have to be ready to receive deeper teachings. And it's not for everybody. Again, you've got to be at a certain level of like emotional awareness, emotional maturity, spiritual awareness, devotion. I took vows in Buddhism early last year. And that, again, all came together very serendipitously. But I just remember for years, like back when I read this book, like around the time when I started my YouTube channel, where I was like, I really would love to have a teacher who's alive, like a spiritual teacher that is my teacher, that I can ask questions, that I can go to them, like not just meditating on an energy or a deity or whatever, who's not an actual human being. And, you know, almost 10 years later, I found my teacher. But that was many, many years of putting in the work. You know what I'm saying? And also, I'm sure, past lifetimes of karma. So anyway, my point in sharing that is that there are elements to taking vows that are secret. And again, the mystery schools of Isis, for example, that Mary supposedly was an initiate of, because her and Jesus, or Yeshua, according to the story, were tantric partners. And that's what resonates for me. And tantric partner, you might have an image of what tantra means, and it's just like super sexualized, but there's so much more to it than that. And so when you take vows, you have to basically kind of like prove that you're ready. So you don't just do it on a whim, and your teacher has to say yes. That's all I'm going to say. It's like, you gotta be like, yeah, not only am I ready, but like I'm ready to devote myself more deeply. I'm ready to stick with it when it's hard, etc. So there's a process, and I'm not going to share it because it's secret, but the point is, not everybody can't do it because everybody's not ready. So your teacher has to basically be like, give you permission and be like, yes, I'll be your teacher. And then it starts from there. So that's why I'm making the membership by application only, not because it's as serious as taking vows per se, but there are things that want to come through in this phase of life. And I don't know why, you know what I'm saying? Everything's intuitively guided. I'm going to show you guys this picture. It's just coming through in a way where some of it wants to remain behind closed doors and some of it wants to be shared here. And that makes sense to me after all these years of spiritual practice, why that would be the case. So I remember seeing this, I pulled this off my altar. I'll show you one thing on there. I remember, let me plug this in. I remember seeing this photo back in like 2012 or 2013. I want to say that I saw this picture on one of Sophie Bashford's Facebook posts. If you know, you know. She was also writing about sacred partnership, and she still teaches. I just did something with her recently. She's based in the UK and talks about the goddess energy and divine feminine energy. She has a really beautiful, earthy, grounded vibration. But I do remember her talking about this, and I'm pretty sure I saw that photo then, and then I just downloaded it, and I remember always having it around. So before I started my YouTube channel, that was on my desk, and I would meditate and I would just look at them, and then I would just get these messages. And so that's how I started. So I'm getting that same feeling lately, but I was like, how does this want to come through? And so I bought 2 oracle decks, and one of them I feel more connected to. So we'll just see what happens. But one of them is the Mystique of Magdalen. This one I feel really connected with. Then I got this other deck, the Mary Magdalen Oracle, which I'm going to use for now. We'll see. I feel more connected to the other deck, but just for the messages that are on the cards, I feel like it could be helpful to start a conversation. And I'm going to see what happens. Like I said, it's definitely giving the feeling of when I started my channel. Who knows? I trust when I get these big feelings and these like really strong directives to do things. And I feel also that after so many years on this path and helping people come into union and be together in a much healthier, more conscious way, also knowing that, like, for some of you, you're single, right? But this is still your path. And so you probably are meant to be in a partnership, most likely. But you might not be ready for that yet, and that's okay. For some of us, it's like many, many years. You might spend alone doing spiritual things and your own internal alchemy and your own work by yourself. For some people, they're meant to do it together. And so you might meet someone and you come together very quickly, and maybe it happens in a way that feels easier because you're meant to like do the work alongside one another. And then, it could be a combination of things. Like everyone's path is unique, so it's not going to look the same for everybody. But what I will say is that the frequency of union is extremely powerful. So whether you're alone right now doing this or you're in a partnership, like a lot of you guys that have reached out to me who have been here since the beginning are in relationships now, or you're starting a new relationship and you're in a much healthier partnership, but now you need like tools and guidance to deepen the intimacy and the connection there. For some of you guys, you're single, you're still on this path, but you're like, how do I apply this if I'm alone? I'm not in a relationship right now. Like, what do I do? I mean, my first advice is always going to be to start a spiritual practice. It's going to meditate. That's my guidance, and I will help you with that. That's why I'm starting the membership, because that's going to be the foundation of everything is a daily practice. Everything built on your daily practice. Again, I didn't like meet my spiritual teacher by accident. And so you plant the seeds and you water them, eventually, they grow. So if your desire is to be in union, you need to be devoted first, probably before it arrives. And what better way to be devoted than to have a spiritual practice that is yours and something special for you and your own ritual and your own way of like showing up and starting to embody the love that you want to receive also externally in a relationship. So I'm just getting the feeling for some reason. It's interesting that it's 10 years later, like on the dot almost. I had my big spiritual awakening around 2012. And so something's happening, something magical, something unexplainable like usual. I just trust the vibe and what's coming. And I think that right now it's important for people who need this support to either come into union or to deepen their relationship there. And because when you're together, or if union is a part of your path, it's an extremely strong frequency. It's activating, it's healing for you and other people. It literally changes the frequency of where you are, where you live. Like, it's not a joke, you guys. It really, I've gotten some really amazing messages about this in my meditation. And so I just feel like I'm meant to share some of this, to be a messenger for Mary Magdalen. So that's the plan with this playlist. So definitely subscribe if you're not to the channel and you'll get notifications. A lot of people watch when they're not subscribed, but if you subscribe to the channel, it really helps me. It helps the algorithm. It helps people find the videos that want to find them and need to find them. And obviously you can come closer if you're drawn to this or to me or to this work, these teachings. Then, like I said, check out the membership. I haven't announced the name yet, so I'm not going to say it here, but I'm sure for some of you by the time you watch this, it will be out. But definitely all my links to connect are going to be, in the description box below. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing where this all goes, because I have no idea. Like I said, when I started, it was magical, and I'm just trusting it. So I'm looking forward to sharing these messages with you guys. And please share below. You know what I mean? Like, shout out if this really resonates. If like this Magdalen manuscript is your thing. If the Egyptian connection with Mary Magdalen and the star seed connection, right? Because Tom Kenyon talks about the Arcturians. There's also a connection with the planet Sirius, which is connected to the pyramids of Giza. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much magical stuff. So if that's your vibe, then I'm sure this is your tribe. Like, this is your community. So shout it out below. Please leave a comment if that's the case. I love to get to know you guys and read your comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the videos. Talk to you soon.